welcome. And today I'm with Frank O'Connell, the President of Duty Free World Council. Frank, welcome.
Thank you.
And very much like to catch up with Frank here in Cannes, France, on the interview we had last year, which many of you will have seen. So Frank, perhaps I could start off by asking you, as I said, it's been a year since we talked before. Some of the challenges ahead based on our conversation last year, what would you say some of the challenges are that have developed most in the last 12 months?
I think it's hard to believe it. 12 months, first of all, have passed, have flown by. I think for the industry in general, I think one of the growing challenges, no doubt, I think for the industry is this whole issue of labelling. Now, I know for many people, labelling, you mentioned labelling, and they sort of start to nod off. And some of the stuff around labelling is very detailed, very technical. And fine, there are people dealing with that. But I think the whole labelling is becoming an issue in many places, as I know you've heard, I'm sure, it's not just in Europe now. It's happening in places around different parts of the world. Labelling in various forms is beginning to surface as an issue.
Just to get this very clear quickly, so we don't lose anybody at the start. I mean, what you're talking about is excessive labelling or labelling which is so expensive that manufacturers will have problems with it.
What we're talking about is labelling requirements that are almost entirely on national requirements. Yeah. And so therefore, obviously from travel retail's point of view and the duty-free industry, which is a cross-border industry, multilingual, the industry can't deal with national labelling requirements. And unfortunately, that's what seems to be emerging now. It's breaking out in different countries around the world that they're imposing requirements which they automatically apply to travel retail, and which in the long run, as we've already seen in Europe with some of the requirements there, will make it extremely difficult for the industry to cope and to keep producing exclusives and SKUs that are just for us, if they have to apply national labelling requirements.
Well, I mean, some manufacturers have said that they won't be able to do that.
No, it's not economically viable. And on the one hand, and in some instances, it's not practical either. So I think that's probably, in the long run, I'm just thinking, it's probably one of the biggest issues that's now beginning to emerge. And it underlines, once again, what I've said for a long time, is that we absolutely need to get recognition that we're a separate channel. We're not the same as the domestic market, the downtown market. And that's really something the industry as a whole have to just keep really hammering away at. It's something as well, I think, that came out of, as you know, ACI World approved a paper at their last board meeting, at the assembly meeting there in August, a very important paper on non-aviation, non-aeronautical revenues. And one of the recommendations and points in that, which is something that I think the council needs to work with ACI on, is that establishing the airport, in their case, obviously the airport retailing as a separate channel. And in the long run, that's the only way we can handle this going forward. Otherwise, we're going to be fighting fires in all directions. So I think, probably that's something that has emerged maybe more in the last year than previously. And it's, as I said, it's something I think that's of serious concern.
You've now gained recognition by, is it ECOFIN?
ICAO.
I'm sorry. Please apologise for that. Of course, it's ICAO.
The International Civil Aviation Organization.
Yeah, it's really important, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a recognition that we have something to say, and it's an invitation from their part for us to apply to attend, various events and workshops that they have, and say, well, we'd like to go to this one. And we're also, in doing that, we're also entitled to say something. So we can submit papers, we can offer to write papers. And so we have a voice. Because ICAO, at the end of the day, ICAO does set out broad principles and broad sort of directions for the industry, for the aviation industry in how they handle things. So their facilitation work stream, which is where we would probably fit in to the whole facilitating of passengers and their process through airports. That's the area where I think we have something to say. And so they would be, they'll set recommendations and regulations for things that, for instance, the liquid things, all that would affect us. And therefore, I think it's an important development that we have the opportunity to have a formal input into the ICAO process. It's also, I think for the industry, it's a recognition. I think that we're there, that we have, that we have a voice, and that we have something to say.
You'd like that recognition a few years ago, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
We tried that, actually. We did try that quite a few years ago when the liquids issue first arose in 2006-07. I went to ICAO and we had conversations with them, but at that point there was no way we would get the accreditation because we weren't a world body.
Right.
They only deal with, it's a UN organisation, so they only deal with global bodies. But now that with the World Council, that's given us the entree, and it's been, I think it's very good. I think it's a very important development for the industry.
Could that have any input on the labelling side, or is it more of a?
I think it's something that perhaps it can do.
And it ought to concern them if it's revenue to.
Yeah, I think probably it's something that there's probably a great lack of awareness, and it's something I think certainly we can bring to their notice as this is an issue.
Well, with respect to them, maybe it's a good thing that it's something they don't know too much about, because they may dismiss it as nonsense.
True, that's true.
Who knows? Anyway, moving on from that, and good luck with that particular battle. I mean, liquids and gels. I hadn't intended to ask you about. I mean, my understanding is that there isn't much that's happened apart from a watching brief until the technology is there that you're satisfied that the authorities are satisfied with. Yeah. Is it still very much the case?
It is, yeah. It's the work is going on technology. There's tests running, technology is being tested in various airports on operational testing in different airports around Europe. It'll be next year really before those tests bring any results, because they need to be tested over a significant period of time with different levels of traffic and different pressures, time pressures and so on, to get a true picture of them. So it'll be next year, I'd say, before that's really it's clear what comes out of that. So in addition to that, I think there are other pressures now emerging.
Volatility is one.
Yeah, the volatility of the world, and other technologies that are being exploited. And so I think the liquid and gels thing is you could argue, is under control. It's secure. And
it's accepted too, isn't it?
And there's a broad acceptance, I think, among the passenger travelling public that this is the way it is. It's not the easiest of things, it's not the most convenient of ways, but it's there and it's working. And until we can change it in a way that makes it easier for passengers and doesn't add to the problems of the journey, then we're best leaving it as it is.
Yeah, I see that. Well, I mean, we're best not leaving the economic impact study where it is.
No.
I know that was an area of some great concern in our last chat. Improvement, is it still work in progress?
It's getting to a point where we have a fairly solid draft now of the study. We're going through it at the moment, page by page, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to complete it within a few weeks.
Oh, that is progress.
Yes, I know there's been a lot of progress made, but it's not. Put it this way, it's not.
As you would like it.
Not the process that I would have envisaged in the first place.
Mm.
We've had to do a lot of digging around, of getting data, pulling data from all sorts of places. The survey data was very, very little, and it was very disappointing.
Mm.
But however, despite that, I think we'll end up with a good study. And the consultants have done a huge amount of work, I think, in trying to pull material from all sorts of sources.
Right.
And I think that, as I said, we're working through a final version of it right now. And I'm hoping, as I said, in a couple of weeks, we should be able to finalise it.
Well, that's obviously important, as indeed is the library resource that you talked about last time. There's been progress there, hasn't there?
There has, and if you go onto our website, you can access the catalogue of the library on the web.
There, yeah.
There's a portal there, and it's very easy to use, and it does work. Now, okay, there's a huge task in putting all of the actual material online, and that's something that will take a long time and will also obviously cost a fair bit of money. But right now, the catalogue is online, and so if you decide there's something there you want to get, we can then physically produce it for you and send it to you.
Right.
So, but I think that's significant progress. You may have also noticed on our website, if you've gone onto it, that courtesy of Generation, we have the latest data on statistics and data on the industry and forecasted data for the years to come.
That's good.
And I think that's very useful as well. So hopefully, with the addition of the data and the statistics and the library, that we'll build up a usage of the website, and that people will find the website useful.
So what about the thorny old subject of membership? Frank, are you happy with membership at the moment?
Well, the membership was always going to be very small
In terms of
because
the
it's simply
associations?
it's 7. I think it's 7 members.
Right.
You've got the regional associations and TFWA,
Okay.
and that's all it was ever going to be.
What about the input from those 7 members? Is that good?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think at the end of the day, much of the time, issues have to be dealt with regionally or locally.
Yeah.
And it's not often that you get an issue that you can deal with globally, except when you're involving the WHO or the UN or ICAO or whatever, so you're into a global organization. But I think, so in that sense, issues, the council provides a coordinating dimension for issues. And so issues that pop up in one part of the world, we can coordinate with what happened or what was the approach to this in another part.
And flag it up.
So that piece is working. And the council, as a council, we've written letters. I've written letters to various prime ministers and various others around the world when issues arise, because the council is in a position to give an industry global view, legitimately give a global view to a political situation in wherever.
Yeah.
And so that's becoming more frequent. And to me, that all indicates that people have accepted the council as being that's a body that's there, that's the industry representative at a global level, and are beginning to use it.
Yeah.
And I think that's very good.
I won't linger on this for too long, but there has been talk of an academy, possibly even a university course in travel retail. Any progress there, or is it still a drawing board, blueprint?
I think it's work in progress, if I put it that way. I think it's something that the council and I personally am very committed to. I think the industry needs an educational dimension to it and an educational body. It does need educational opportunities for people, particularly for the younger people in the industry. And that needs to be linked to universities and to proper academic standards. So there is work going on in that. Christine Martin, as you know, we've had lots of meetings, and she's been to the council, and so there's work going on in the background of that. But it's something that I think will evolve over the coming while. And as I said, I think it's something that is very much the council is very much in favour of it.
So obviously lots of challenges there. I mean, going back to the first question, but challenges, achieving challenges, sadly costs money, and funding is always the bane of many associations. Bringing you back to the question that I posed to you last year, and I think I asked you how much you thought in an ideal world, and I think you talked about 250,000. I mean, are you still thinking about that sort of number, and are you anywhere close to?
I think it needs that sort of number, 250, 300, whatever. Yeah. You know, it's. I think it needs. I suppose leaving aside the money thing for a minute, because people can argue about amounts of money. I think what the council needs is resource.
Right.
And
resource costs money.
A resource costs money. I mean, if you want resources, you have to pay for them, and also you have to make a commitment to them for a period of time. You can't say, well, we'll use you for a week and then go away. So I think that's probably the issue, is we need resources. The council, I think now, I've brought it, if you like, to a certain point now, in whatever that is, a year and a half or nearly 2 years, or going on 2 years. It'll be 2 years next March. And I think there's lots of things in place now, and the essence of the council is in place. But I think to bring it to another level, I think needs more resources in addition to myself. And it needs probably somebody who's working at it day in, day out. But they have to be paid for. And so that's something that we need to, we'll talk about tomorrow, at the meeting tomorrow. I have it on the agenda.
This is a meeting of the Judiciary Work Council.
The council is meeting tomorrow in Cannes. Yeah, we have our Cannes meeting tomorrow afternoon. And it's on the agenda that we need to move to employing Secretary General, whatever we want to call them. Yeah. But we need, I think that's necessary now to bring the council on to another level.
And drive it forward. Frank O'Connor, I'm sure everybody who has the industry's best wishes at heart wishes you luck. And
thank you very much for that.
Talking to us
Thanks
today.
very much.
Thank you.
Bye.